Welcome. This is For Better and Worth,
the podcast where we don't believe you have to sacrifice your relationship while you grow and build your net worth.
We are your hosts.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ericka Young, and we're so glad you're joining us today.
All right, y'all, let's get into it.
Hey, honey, how are you?
I am doing outstanding.
Ooh, that's a serious word there. That's good. I'm glad.
We just been out here on the grind. People don't see what takes place behind the scenes, but we're out here trying to make things happen.
Oh, Lord. And so what you out here making happen, babe?
Well, I've been on the grind, my corporate grind, but
yeah.
We're back in the studio. And we're grinding on this side as well.
I know. I feel like I'm burning the candle on both ends of the stick right now. I need a whole day off because I've been going and going and going for the last 2 weeks, Chris.
It's like that sometimes. So we just want to make sure we're putting content out for you all that's going to impact your lives. And behind the scenes, we're out here doing the thing for you people.
You're hilarious. You're funny. And I'm tired. So you're outstanding and I'm tired. So here we go into this episode. And
this is going to be a yin and yang type of episode.
I'm going to let you be, just the energetic one here because a sister is not energetic today. I'm just being real and honest.
Well, look, that's why we are in a partnership and we will work together to make sure this thing comes through.
You got my back today.
For sure.
Thank you.
With that said, we've been hearing this term thrown around and, we heard it on Insta and we've heard it in a bunch of different places. And I was like, hold on, we got to talk about this. When we heard it at church, our pastor was talking about loud budgeting.
I know. It came to the pulpit. Like, it's not normal in our church, I would say, specifically for our pastor to bring up stuff that is in the media or pop culture, but he did it this time.
Hold on. He kind of does this thing,
But this is kind of new. He actually put up a clip,
right?
A news clip where people were talking about loud budgeting. I said, "Come through, let's go."
He is out here trying to, encourage people to get their money situations right. So we were in the audience like, all right, Pastor, go ahead on.
That's right. We were totally in Amen Corner here this time. And we've been talking about loud budgeting for some weeks now. It's just honestly a term that somebody coined back in January, and we hadn't gotten around to recording. And when our pastor brought it on the pulpit, we said, it's time, y'all. It's time.
I think we've been loud budgeting for 20 years.
So what is loud budgeting, honey? What is it to you specifically?
I think when I hear that new age term, I go back to some old age terms, from 20 years ago. And it's just, standing on 10 toes. Like, look, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm not going to do. And not being ashamed to step forward and tell people, look, right now, my account is accounting. What we're not going to do is we're not going here or we're not going to do this. And I think that's what loud budgeting has been historically. It's just people, letting other people know that, hey, right now, my bank account is doing some different things and making a choice to not participate in things and letting other people know. Mm-hmm. So I've always felt like that's what, it wasn't called loud budgeting. We didn't really have a term for it. It was just like...
It was just budgeting, to be honest with you. And I think it is something that historically people just simply don't talk about. And now people are trying to be intentional and they're doing it on social media. Like they're saying that they are pushing back against culture in order to stick with their goals, whatever it is. So a budget to me is not effective if you don't really have a goal. So there's no sense in saying I'm loud budgeting if you don't have a reason to be budgeting. What is the actual big picture goal? Are you trying to get out of debt? Are you trying to save? Are you trying to, what are you trying to do?
I think people always need to budget.
No, they do. But what is the point, right? So literally, even if you don't have debt or you got money in savings, for instance, like us, we budget so that we can push back and not go into debt, right? We budget, we plan ahead of time so that we don't overspend. We plan so that we can go on a trip or so that we can save money for a specific
Right.
purpose.
I follow you.
There's a purpose, a reason for it, because I don't think people should budget just because it's an adult or mature thing to do. That's just not enough motivation.
Well, but I think, okay, so you opening up a little interesting segue here.
Let's go.
So you say you don't think people should budget just for the sake of budgeting unless there's something bigger that they're budgeting for.
Right. What is the reason why behind it? That's what I think people should think about, because that's what will keep you budgeting, keep the motivation if you have a purpose. Otherwise, people are going to fall off the wagon.
Well, I guess I would think of it in terms that you always have a reason.
You do.
You always have a purpose, and that purpose and that reason can change. And maybe that's what you're saying is as your purpose and reason changes. I don't want to put words in your mouth. I'm just trying to understand to make sure that I'm hearing your point accurately, because I feel like people always need to be budgeting.
They do.
Whether you're in a season of feast or a season of famine, you may have more reason to budget in your season of famine because there's not enough. But even when there is more than enough, I think that's the time when you still need to be budgeting, because your perspective may change about your willingness to give to organizations or find causes that you want to support. And that may be what you're talking about. Well, hey, I'm budgeting because I'm not doing it just for me. I want to be a giver. I want to support causes that are near and dear to my heart. So I guess I can understand what you're saying. You got to have a reason, but I feel like there's always a reason.
There absolutely always is. Now, let me just be clear, honey. You know I'm going to always say people need a budget. My whole
That's
business...
why it threw me off. It threw me off for a second. I was like, well, hold on. What? This the budget queen. Like, wait a minute. She talking about you don't need... You just threw me off for a second. I had to level set with you.
My whole business is named Tailor Made Budgets, honey.
Right. I got you.
So I'm saying people have to identify. How about that? They have to identify what their reason is, their purpose is for budgeting, and always be connected to it so that they have the motivation to keep doing it.
Okay.
That is what I am saying.
Got you. See, people, this is relationship and money podcast. So this was just an example of how you got to sometimes stop and clarify in the discussion and the conversation so we're on the same page.
Yes, and that's fair. I think it was good for clarification, right?
Absolutely,
right.
Absolutely.
And
this was minor. So just imagine, when people get into, dust ups or skirmishes about some real stuff.
Oh no.
Sometimes you got to stop and say, "Wait, hold on now. What? Let me make sure we're on the same page."
And we are also. It's okay to disagree. Like if you did differ, and I think it was just terminology. I think actually,
yeah, it was just a confusion in what you were saying.
We are really good at confusing terminology, you and I. We do this. We say it one way and the other person is like, hold on. And you definitely calculate stuff differently than I do. And I think because we both believe we're right.
Right, because you do engineer math, I do business math.
You know what? But they're both right.
Yeah.
It's just how the brain works.
It's just different ways of thinking.
It's how the brain works, right? And
isn't that funny though? How like you have an engineering background and you've translated that into business, and I have a business background, and sometimes we just think things very differently. I think it's funny sometimes, like. Look, girl, the math this is it.
Yeah.
It adds up to 100.
Right. And I'm like, but there's something underlying. I'm always analyzing it even in more depth. So
like, 21 plus 49. That's how we got to 100. I was like, 25. It's
right.
there.
Right. No,
it's 100.
So I say it different, honey. I say it different. And I think when it's so interesting that you say that, because I do think that we get mixed up in the weeds on the how versus the end goal. We're both saying the same thing. We both trying to get to 100%, or we both saying, loud budgeting is this, but terminology makes you think you not on the same page when really we on the same page.
I think it's funny. So
yeah.
But tell me, like, what do you define loud budgeting as?
I think it is being vocal, first of all, about the fact that you're up to something with your money. I don't know that it always has to be that's not in the budget, like those words. I think it could also be my goal is this, therefore I'm being purposeful with my spending, or honestly, how we loud budget is, like, I've said this to friends. I'm like, I got to put entertainment back in the budget. After COVID, I was like, yeah, I got to put entertainment back in the budget because I'm getting out here.
Right, because you just out buying champagne.
No. See, you know what? Don't start no stuff. See, listen.
I'm sorry. People, go back and listen to the other episode.
I'm about to get energized now because you coming at me. But no, like fun stuff, going to comedy shows or having entertainment, putting that back into the budget. And I remember saying those things out loud, like I need to be intentional about having fun, therefore it needs to be in the budget. So ahead of time, it's not always I can't do that because of the budget. Maybe it is great. Next month, I'm going to put that in so that I'm intentional with spending. And you're not shy about letting people know that this is how you run your life. And I think the beauty of it is that it gives other people the freedom to think about it too, right? To say, she's putting it in her budget. Okay. Because the thing is we're not going to remember everything. We're just not. And that's why we have miscellaneous money and things like that. But even still, like, I think we have to bring ourselves back in and say, is this in the budget? Making decisions pre-activity or whatever we're trying to do. And then while we're in the moment as well.
That was so eloquent.
What's
the way you put that?
I got a little energy because you got spicy, so I had to get spicy, and I my brain started working. It's firing a little bit on all cylinders.
Well, I'm glad I was able to bring you online.
Oh my gosh, you had to poke fun.
Well, this is what we do. This is how we keep it moving. But I just really think about, like, how people say, well, let's go do this or let's go do that, and people will say, well, my bank account right now, what it's saying is I'm not going to do this right now.
Right.
And that could be from a number of positions, but I remember people saying that, well, the way my bank account is working right now.
Right. The way my bank account is set up right now.
Yeah, it's like, no, we're not doing that.
Right.
Because they may, and I applaud people who do and say that, because they're reverting back to, what we like to call the bigger yeses.
Yes.
And I think that's what people have to start really embracing is, what is the bigger yes? What is the thing that is most important? And we've all seen that, the videos of the professor comes in class and he has an empty jar and he puts in a bunch of golf balls or a bunch of rocks and he asks the class, is it full? And they say yes. And then he takes, a bunch of pebbles or gravel, and then he puts it in. Is it full? They say yes. And then he puts some sand and ultimately keeps filling it up, then adds water or different things. And the point is that you got to put the big things in first and fill everything in around that. And to some degree, I think people who are loud budgeting are choosing to do that.
That's so good. Thank you.
They are taking those big things and saying, hold on, I'm going to focus on these big things first and make sure those are part of my budget. They are in my purview of where I'm going to be spending my money, because for short-term, intermediate, or even long-term goals, this is what I need to be doing. And now they're choosing to fill in the gaps with all of those other things, the pebbles and the gravel. And then they're saying, okay, I still have a little room, so let me put some sand in there or put some water in there to fill the rest of the space. And I think that's what loud budgeting, people could think about it conceptually in that way as well.
And I think it's also not allowing other people to try and put big rocks in your jar. And I think that a lot of people don't know how to make sure that they're not being influenced by other folks and what they think is important in the heat of them trying to really stay on target for themselves and reach their goals, whatever those are. And so I think maintaining, like, first of all, knowing what the big rocks are and then being committed to keep those big rocks. and not letting someone else try and put big rocks in your jar. I think that's the distinction that I would make on that. So I got a question. I'm curious. All these years, how have you maintained a positive energy about budgeting and being consistent with it? Because in the very beginning, we were mincing words about what loud budgeting was, and you essentially was like, everybody needs to have a budget at all times. And so, how do you keep that same energy all the time? Because I know a lot of people get weary about it.
It's so funny that we were looking at it differently to begin with, because now I totally align with what you were saying, because we budget because we always had a goal. We always had something that we were working towards. And so if I go back over the years and think about, like, even today, why do we still budget? Well, I have a bigger goal. I have a plan. It's all the things that I want to be able to do today and all the things I want to do tomorrow. And so for me, it shifts from season to season and phases in life. And so, like, I keep budgeting because, at first, I just wanted to get out of debt.
Mm-hmm.
That was the big goal. Okay, I want to get out of debt. And I remember when we first got out of debt, I was like, man, this feels like a sense of relief. Life didn't, the skies didn't open and the sun came out. Well, we lived in Arizona then, so probably it did.
It did all the time, every day.
The skies were white and the clouds were blue. But, that day we got out of debt, it wasn't any different than any other day. Mm-hmm. But for me, I felt a sense of relief. And then I was able to say, well, you know what? I need to keep budgeting because I need to get, 6-month emergency fund. And then when I got 6 months, I was like, I feel more comfortable having a 12-month emergency fund. And life just shifts and adjusts. And then, we've always decided that we wanted to enjoy life and have experiences and travel. And so for me, it was like, well, I'm going to keep budgeting because we want to go on these, big trips that we want to take our kids on, and we want to create memories and spend our money in those ways. And so for me, it's always been kind of a reset, because people think that you reach one goal and that's where you stop and it just ends there. It's like, no, you reach that goal, then you assess and reset and reevaluate and set the next goal. And I really think that that's what has allowed me to stay encouraged. And like you've heard me say it hundreds of times, progress over perfection. And at different points, we were like, okay, well, what progress are we looking to make? The process may not be 100% perfect, but it's perfect for us. And ultimately, that's what I want people to do, is embrace something that will work for you, that you will have conviction around. You'll have, the ability to stick with it. They say stick-to-itiveness. And
is that a word?
I don't know if it's in the dictionary, but it works in this situation. The ability to stick to something and make it last long.
Yeah.
Didn't that sound like Merriam-Webster right there?
It did. It really did, and that was kind of odd and spot on at the same time. But it worked, I think.
But what about you? Like, what has allowed you to stay motivated in this budgeting realm? I know it's your business, but let's remove the business side of it and let's talk about personally. Like, how have you been able to stick to budgeting?
Honestly, I'm a nerd. I love the numbers. It gives me a sense of satisfaction to know that I know what's in my checking account. I know that we put the big rocks in, we put the money in savings, or we pay for the trip or whatever. And it's important to me that I am, and this is why our pastor brought it up, that I'm a wise steward, that I know what is going on with the money. And so I like to be more intimately involved in that stuff. It matters to me, and I can't go really a full week without having sort of reconciled the account and just kind of know what is going on with everything. And so I think it is a wiring within me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I also get a real sense of satisfaction that we know where our money is going. And that is, it can be you know, a Bible term for some, but I think being a wise steward, just a good money manager, a person knows what's going on in their accounts. They are in alignment on if they're on target with groceries and some of the basics. I enjoy knowing these things, and then I also like knowing that our big picture goals are being taken care of. Like, if I didn't budget, is it possible that I would just spend the money that we want to save or put towards? I mean, I keep saying save and put towards travel because that's this year's goals, right? But I think that those are the things that if I didn't budget, it makes me wonder how much slower, how much longer it would take in order to accomplish the things that we're trying to accomplish. And that is why I get so excited about it or so interested in it, because it keeps me in alignment and it holds me accountable, because I, just like anyone else, can spend money and not be paying attention, and there goes $200 out the window, right? And so that holds me accountable. But to start off with, I mean, honestly, what keeps me going is I'm a nerd and I like the numbers and I get that satisfaction.
You know, as I'm sitting here listening to you, it's so important to be aligned with your partner, because it could certainly be, you could certainly derail if one person is loud and excited about it and they're loud budgeting, but the other one is like, you know what, I'm doing what I want to do.
I was going to ask you, do you think we get pushy with this, or I get pushy with this in any way?
Well, no. And it's interesting you asked that, because I was going into a story. Like, I remember, well, you think about how people get paid, you know, every couple weeks or, you know, twice a month, however your pay cycle is. And when people get paid, they are free. They're like, man, I just got paid today. I'm going out to lunch. We're going out to dinner. We about to hang this weekend. And then before you know it, you're like, well, hold on. I ain't even look at the budget yet. And you've spent,
if they look at the budget, let's be honest.
Right, but I remember that
or if they created one.
I remember there were times when you and I would we would start spending. You know, we got paid. Like, okay, boom, we're about to go do this, and then we were like, well, hold on, wait, and we both would like challenge each other, like, well, we got to look and see where we're at, because you know, before things get out of hand and you've gone over in areas and you started to miss it. And so that leads to the question you asked me. I don't think that either of us gets pushy, because, like, as much as I may not say it like you know, I enjoy this stuff as well. You know, you call yourself a nerd. I'm a money connoisseur.
No, he didn't. Not you getting bougie with your nerdiness. Let's just not
Right,
he
right.
say,
But you know,
I'm a money connoisseur. No, but you really are a serious enthusiast for sure.
Yes,
about all
yes.
things money, and even your coworkers
Right.
get that from you.
My coworkers are like, look, if I need to know something, let me go talk to Chris, get a financial coaching session. I'll be like, look, you need to go talk to Ericka so we can get paid.
Listen, I need you to just send somebody an invoice. That's all I'm saying.
Right,
Okay,
right.
Get some invoices out. E.F. Hutton.
But you better stop it.
Hey, because when Chris says something, everybody listens.
But I think that it's just another one of those things where when you are looking to be connected with someone long term, you need to have somebody who's like-minded, somebody who's not going to derail the plan that the nerd may come up with or the enthusiast may come up with, because I think most relationships have someone who's a nerd or an enthusiast that gets into this stuff, and the other partner may not be. It just so happens in our relationship we both are, you know, nerds, enthusiasts about this, so it doesn't appear to be, you know, intimidating or pushy, because we both want the same thing. And that's why we're sitting in the podcast studio talking about this, so other people can get it and embrace it and make it part of their lives.
So this is a really important thing to think about because you use that word intimidate. And I'm curious on what you think about when people are, first of all, there's two parts to this question. One is, can you intimidate your partner if they're not a loud budgeter? And the second part of that question is, can you intimidate others if you and your partner are on the same page, on the same team about loud budgeting? Could that be intimidating to friends and family members and coworkers if you start shouting from the rooftop, hey, I'm not doing all that, that's not in my budget?
I say yes and yes. Because I do think that you can intimidate a partner who may not be on board as much. And it's not beneficial in any way to intimidate your partner, because all that's going to do is push them further down the road and they're not going to want to come along on the journey, because then people want to just fight back. They want to push back on whatever that they feel they're being forced to do. And I think, haters are going to hate.
Come on, Taylor Swift.
And when you are out there loud budgeting and saying it from the rooftop and saying it to people aren't going to just embrace, you can't, you too good. Because everybody knows what your situation is. Everybody knows what your situation looks like.
I was going to say looks like. They may not know behind the scenes, but they know
what
it looks like. They know what you give them on the outside.
Right. And I say everybody knows what it is because they can look at it and say, they make their own assessment. And they're like, you live here, you drive this, you work there. I know what you got. And they don't know anything about you. But on the outside, they've made this assessment so that, now you loud budgeting. Oh, okay. Now, you so good. And that's why I say haters are going to hate. And when you have your plan, your yes, your rocks, you can't care about what other people are saying. So I turn it back to you. When you talk about intimidating, do you think that people can do the same? Intimidate their spouse or their partner, or, if they're loud budgeting, can they intimidate others?
So yes and yes. However, what I will say, so I'm not going to add anything to what you said because you said it perfectly, but I won't rephrase what you said because you said it perfectly. But I'm going to add this one thing. When it comes to your partner, you have to figure out what their motivation is and deal with them in a different manner than the outside world. Because ultimately, you are in a potato sack race. So both of y'all got a leg in the potato sack and y'all trying to go somewhere together. And if you trying to drag your partner in this potato sack, right, then they gonna get hurt and y'all gonna end up in a fight. And so I think that
you're trying to run and your partner fell down and you trying to drag them along.
Exactly. And
that's gonna slow you down.
It's gonna slow you down. It's gonna be harsh and everybody gonna get hurt. And then you're gonna have ramifications long term. So I think with your partner, I think you have to find out what their motivation is, what is going to make them tick, what is the thing that's going to get them on board. And some of that conversation is not about budgeting. I will say this again and again. For a reluctant spouse, you probably don't need to begin with the numbers. And I think you have to really, I don't want people walking on eggshells. I think it's important that you understand what their motivation is, see what are their goals that is going to move the needle for them so that they stay motivated, and deal with them so that you are a team. And so I think that is important in that relationship. Now, when you said haters are going to hate when it's outside of this household relationship, that's true. But guess what? You are also not responsible for how they receive how you show up in life.
Come on now.
That part is something I have learned in this later, the last 10 years of life, is that I cannot be responsible for how they receive me. I gotta be me. Don't you be laughing. Okay.
You said these last 10 years, you came into the ornery phase of life.
That's what you said. Literally, that is the word you said. You said one day, you done got ornery in your old age. I'm like, dude, I'm not old. And
I know.
But I didn't even back down. I'm like, yeah, I probably am a little ornery now.
Right. I don't know. I think you reach a point in life where it's like, I just don't care.
I just don't care no more.
Because we are so dictated and governed by what people say or what people think, and whether we say we care or not, we still try and, pander a little bit to what people think about us, even if we're like, I don't care what people think about me.
But we always do. We always do to some degree.
Yeah, but I'm reaching a full engagement of I don't care.
And I get to take your I don't care card every so often. But I think
right, you I don't care adjacent.
I am. Shoot, because if you don't care, I can't care either. You know what I mean? Like
Right. We trying to live. Look, give me a high five.
Hey.
We trying to live our best life,
That's right. I feel like when we're talking about other people, like it's hard too when you really care about them, cuz sometimes speaking up about what you're doing with your money, even if you're not giving everybody all the details of your budget. Loud budgeting is not, let me show you my budget. That's not what it is. But when you're pushing back on culture, on activities, on peer pressure, and you're saying, I'm not going to do this because I have something bigger in my life that's important, it can, to other people, come off a certain way because it shows up and shines a light on what they may or may not be doing in their own life.
Right.
And that is not your problem. That is their problem to deal with. And hopefully your behavior and actions and the way that you say everything can be planting seeds into helping them also figure out how to make changes and upgrades and improvements in their life.
Look, we have this quote, and it's by an anonymous author. I'd love to give credit to it, but, it says loud budgeting isn't just about crunching numbers. It's about loudly proclaiming your dreams and methodically pursuing them with every cent.
I love it.
I love that definition.
That's so good. And I think if we can consider loud budgeting more so how we're going after with fervor our dreams and our goals and our priorities, we're almost having a different conversation.
I'm going to rephrase it. Loud budgeting isn't about just the numbers. It's about not caring what people think and leaning fully into what matters to you and where you spend your money.
Let me just say this.
That's a quote from Chris Young.
There you go. And you know what? We wouldn't be here if we didn't loud budget 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Yep.
It is how we got to where we are today. And I'm not going to make any excuses for that. I am proud of how far we have come.
Say it loud.
I am. And that is also a piece of being loud with your budget. Like, you're proud of what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to hide. You're not going to, to shy away from conversations that might be tough for other people, because we were diligent with our budgeting literally every single month for all this time. We have gotten to a place where we get to not care as much. And that is huge.
I love that, we're at a point in life, and even I say a point in life, like from a society perspective, where people are, embracing these things, and they are, pronouncing it from the rooftops, because there were points when, people would make you feel bad about trying to do better for yourself.
Ooh, come on now, because they don't know what they're doing about trying to get better for themselves.
Right, because they were, not making the choices that were the ones that were proof positive choices for them. But now it's like, social media has changed the game.
Yeah.
And you've got people all over social media saying it. So people are like, well, maybe I need to get on this craze. And maybe this craze now is something that will help a whole different segment of people adjust, adapt their lives, and do things differently. So, look, I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's another quote that I like. By budgeting loudly, we challenge the silence around money talk, breaking barriers and building bridges towards collective financial wisdom. Thank you, Jordan K.
And that is what's up.
Yeah,
collective financial wisdom.
You challenge the silence around money talk. So, if we can sum it up, what would be your way to make it worth it?
Look, as they say, this isn't, I said I'm a money connoisseur. This is not a connoisseur statement right now. This is going to be rather hood.
Oh, I love it. Listen, take the hood and the connoisseur. Let's go.
Look, stand on business, people.
Yeah.
Stand on business. Be
Your
10
own.
toes.
Yeah.
And don't be moved or bothered by what people say. Because when you stand on business and you 10 toes down, people aren't going to move you. What they say, what they do, you're like, so? I'm still right here doing my thing. Yeah. And that's what it takes. To make it worth it, you have to stand your ground and be committed to what it is you're trying to do and what you're trying to work towards. And if you do that, you loud budgeting all day. So
I love it.
So what's your make it worth it? How do you take this loud budgeting concept and make it worth it for the people?
I love loud budgeting, or the concept of it, because it just gives people another way to have money conversations. And it's opening up a space that we were once silent in. And so I think that we all win, we all learn, and we're all hopefully going to grow if more people talk about how they're managing their money and how they're making progress and reaching their goals. That is exciting to me. So we're changing culture when we do that. And I love all of that. I love all the benefits.
Come on now, say it loud.
Hey, and say it proud. We're loud budgeting. Let's go.
Well, look, this was fun, and I'm glad we started slow, but boom, look at you, the yin and yang. We boom brought it together, made it work, and now we're out here just loud and proud with it. So
yes. So we're excited. Thanks so much for having this conversation and for bringing me along, because I'm telling you, I was a little tired. Now I got some energy. And
now look at you.
We talk about money and I get a little energy.
Look, so until next time, people,
we're out.
Thank you for spending some of your time with us today.
We appreciate all of your support. So be sure to subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen to this podcast.
You can find us on Instagram at For Better and Worth.
And sign up to receive our free guide, The 7 Reasons Your Money Relationship Isn't Working with Your Partner, on ForBetterandWorth.com.
Until next time, we're out of here.